And they also built a hospital for them, and there was a doctor who would visit every week. And the doctor trained one of the slaves to be a nurse, to take care of them.
See, that was kind of like what they were saying in Florida about the skills that they learned. And really, they didn't charge her for that neither. You know what I mean? So she got that for free. Really, what I'm saying is this was a good deal. You know, this was as good a deal as was available in Louisiana at the time. And quite frankly, I believe some back pay is probably owed to the owners of the plantation. That's what I'm saying. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. Don't forget to give the video a like. I am Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Here I am. I had just finished reporting on the Nottoway Plantation fire.
This was Nottoway Plantation in White Castle around 4 o'clock this afternoon, a few hours after fires broke out in the south wing. But 3 hours later, and despite the efforts of dozens of firefighters, this was the scene, a skeleton of the building that's been standing in White Castle since 1859.
Only God can do. Only God can do. Only God can do. Only God.
Really? You just gonna be doing that all while I'm watching? I'm trying to watch the news. You really? I mean, at least wait till after.
The plantation, of course, has a complex history, so as you can imagine, its destruction today has stoked a range of emotions tonight.
You made me happy.
Again. Is this the range of emotions you showing right now?
Still, it's a popular tourist spot for Iberville Parish, hosting events throughout the year. Perry Robinson has been out there all afternoon. He's joining us live. And Perry, you basically watched this all come crumbling down tonight.
That's right, Liz. We originally got out here around 3 p.m. this afternoon, and we were actually here to witness the exact moment that the roof actually caved in.
Wait a minute. No, he was at the spades table. No, I seen him. He was at the spades. He the one who reneged his books.
Out here at this building. So let me step out of the shot so that you can see exactly what it looks like. Again, crews are continuously still trying to put water out on this building. Again, what you said earlier, the destruction of this building has brought out a lot of mixed reactions from people here in White Castle. As the sun set, dozens of people stood still as a massive fire consumed the historic Nottoway Plantation.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I didn't see a whole lot of people standing still. No, they were moving together. They were line dancing, is what they were line dancing. Only people I saw standing still was the ones taking selfies.
I'm like, okay, maybe a little fire. I didn't expect this.
According to the parish president, the fire broke out around 2 p.m. in the south wing of the building.
Some staff members stated that they had gone into the museum on the second floor and there was smoke. They went in and exited the museum, and at that time, when they returned, the whole room was in flames.
So what you mean to tell me is that the fire originated in the museum, where all the historical artifacts were kept? That's where the fire started, amongst the historical artifacts? Evidently, I owe all the people who said they saw faces in the smoke an apology. Yeah, apparently there is some smoke to that story.
Built in the 1800s, the site has been a staple within the White Castle community. But for others, it's a reminder about Louisiana's dark past. Like many plantation sites today, Nottoway was a draw for tourists and events. It hosted a wedding just last week.
Now, having weddings at a place like this is not completely foreign to me, but I had never really had an opportunity to properly probe the mindset that it takes to have your day of love at the site of a plantation.
This is really a detriment to the community.
One person we spoke to said they have never seen a fire this intense.
In my 34 years of life, I can't say that I've seen something as bad as this.
Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but within a few hours, the entire building was destroyed.
Y'all not finished? What y'all gonna go all summer?
Now, Liz, I did get a chance to talk to the new owners of this building, and they told me that they actually just purchased this building not even a full year ago. It actually happened back last fall. The couple, they live in Natchitoches, and they told me that they are extremely overwhelmed over what happened, and as of now, they are unsure what exactly that they plan to do at this spot.
Now, as we just saw, despite the line dancing, the card playing, everybody yelling where them fans at, people pouring out libations, I think I saw a game of throwback tackle right there in the front lawn right there. Despite all of that happening, there was, in fact, a wide range of emotions.
As we know, we just experienced a great loss here in Louisiana. One of our grandest and most well-known plantation experienced a fire and burned down completely.
Yes, Nottoway Plantation.
Are you familiar with Nottoway Plantation?
Oh yes. I was like, oh my God, like this is like real, like it's really gonna be gone. I was just so heartbroken. I was actually in tears.
We spent weekends there with
Yes,
our kids.
So you guys have actually stayed on that, on the ground.
We stayed in the house.
In the house.
Are you sure it was the big house or one of the ones out back? I could see you staying in one of the ones out back. I could see that. Y'all really gonna do that while I'm doing a fire story? I tell you, is this the lowest sense of humor? While I'm doing a fire story? And here they come. That must be the investigation. Maybe somebody escaped from jail. Oh, we'll get there.
Some people are actually rejoicing that this plantation is burned down, and they're glad it's gone. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because they don't actually know the true history of the place, and I just think that if they would know the true history of the place and just read details and just actually get to know it instead of believing what they think, it's like I don't think they really learn, the history.
Well, what is the history of the place?
Okay. This was a properly titled video, Whiteness Studies. What do you make of people that were rejoicing and celebrating? Well, they don't know the proper history of because I have access to more. Can't you see how much information I have access to? They don't know the true history of the place. I am fascinated by the arrogance in that statement, but also what her answer would be. What is the true history of the place, ma'am?
Like, I don't think they really learn, the history.
Well, what is the history of the place?
Cat got your tongue? Uh-huh. Yeah. This is like one of those game shows where you have to guess the word, but you can't say slavery. What did Ron DeSantis? Summer camp?
The history of the place is, I think, their ancestors. They should be more appreciative of what the ancestors have done for this place. Because without the ancestors have done in this place, it's still here. I mean, that's amazing that it's still here after all these years of 160-something years of being there this long. And, I think they should take pride in the work that they've done to it to keep it this long. I mean, it really breaks my heart that they feel that way about it. And I just think their ancestors would really be upset with them right now.
So their ancestors would be upset that they are not taking pride in the work that was forced upon them for the benefit of somebody else while they were kept in bondage and degraded. Is that what you're saying? By the way, since you are so full of information, I'm sure you know the true history of the place now, don't you?
The scene behind me is a plantation house in Louisiana that is burned down. It's burning down in this video. But this is not just any plantation house. This was the largest antebellum plantation house in the South, owned by one of the richest enslavers in the South. This is the Nottoway Plantation in Louisiana. It was built by enslaved Africans in 1859. It was owned by this guy, John Randolph. Now, John wasn't even from Louisiana. He was from Virginia originally, but he came from a wealthy slave-owning family, and his dad was hired by the federal government to do something in Louisiana, and he moved with him. Now, originally, he wanted to make it into a cotton plantation, the same type of plantation that he was used to in Virginia. But he noticed that the climate in Louisiana was a lot different, so he changed it to a sugar plantation. And because of that, he ended up tripling his family's wealth. John Randolph enslaved 176 people. But the plantation house itself was built around the same time as the Civil War. John didn't want to fight in the Civil War. He was scared. So he sent 3 of his sons and he asked, how much money do I have to give to keep me out of this? And he was a huge financial backer of the Confederacy in Louisiana. When he realized that the Confederacy was losing, he left his wife in Louisiana, took 200 slaves, and went to Texas. Once the Civil War was over, he contracted with 53 bonded people, basically people that owed him money and were working to pay it off. It's just another form of slavery. He eventually died in 1883, and his wife eventually sold the plantation for $50,000. That's the equivalent of $1.9 million today. And now he has no legacy at all.
But see, here's the thing. I can't begrudge her for being that ignorant because they wasn't exactly spreading that word. Now, were they? We heard from a tour guide in my first story about Nottoway.
I used to be a tour guide at Nottoway Plantation. Nottoway was not talking about history properly. They regularly threatened my job because I was, quote, too emotional about the historical context and slavery there. I was there from 2017 till 2020 when COVID hit. The amount of ridiculous nonsense that I had to talk about on that tour was overwhelming.
But now we can actually see exactly how they framed it.
Get the most in this region, and that's because when he purchased a slave, if the slave had a wife and children, he'd buy the whole family so that they would never be separated. And so that was good for them.
Y'all heard her correctly. Y'all heard her correctly. She just said he had the most in the region because out of the good nature of his heart, he would purchase an entire family. So that was, you know, this was really the 5-star plantation right here is what I'm saying.
Then in the village, he built a cottage for each of those families so they could have to share with multiple families and squeeze into one space. So that was good too. They could hunt, they could fish, so they could buy for their own food. And they also built a hospital for them, and there was a doctor who would visit every week. And the doctor trained one of the slaves to be a nurse, to take care of them.
See, that was kind of like what they were saying in Florida about the skills that they learned. And really, they didn't charge her for that neither. You know what I mean? So she got that for free. Really, what I'm saying is this was a good deal. You know, this was as good a deal as was available in Louisiana at the time. And quite frankly, I believe some back pay is probably owed to the owners of the plantation. That's what I'm saying.
So from the readings that we have, it sounds like the slaves were treated fairly well as the slave can be treated, considering the conditions.
Yes. She just said that. She just said that. And you wonder why the couple could be out here upset when clearly they got no financial interest in the plantation. Let's be real about that. But they're upset. They don't have a place to spend their weekends. And man, the people are celebrating because they don't know the true history, you know, about the hospital and the nurse and the buying the whole thing. They don't know, you know, this was 5-star slavery.
When the war ended, the majority of the slaves stayed here. We actually have descendants of the slaves who still work here today. Pretty amazing.
I can't begrudge anybody that is working. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine working there. I'll be totally honest. I can't even conceive of that. But I also didn't grow up in rural Louisiana, so I will give you that. But here is the update that I have on the plantation. Here I am minding my own business. I just got back from the line dance, and I put my jacket down, and I open up We Gonna Be All Right, because I always like to catch up with my man Jeff Wiggins, and what do I see?
Dan Dyess, who currently owns Nottoway, is under the impression that his plantation/resort, like the South, will rise again. He'll likely get donations. I mean, if he can find a way to prove that his property has called black children the N-word, then it'll be lucrative, baby.
Now let me see this. Owner of largest antebellum mansion in the South hopes to rebuild after devastating fire as some celebrates its destruction. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Because I actually had in the first video, I said, good luck rebuilding the plantation in 2025. They're rebuilding the plantation in 2025. Fire officials believe the cause of the Nottoway Plantation blaze was electrical and not suspicious. William Daniel Dyess, an attorney and preservationist, told the Post, "Oh boy, I can tell you these racists are not going to take that well. They are not, no, because y'all remember in the first video, they had already projected arson upon us and looking down at people that are intentionally destroying history. Yeah, they done dog whistled an entire arson crime and laid it at the feet of the black community. Go ahead and make that as loud as the accusation, won't you?" Dyess said he understands the property's polarizing history, but doesn't align with its checkered past. Quote, "I take this position. We are non-racist people." Well, that's good. I am a lawyer and my wife is a judge. We believe in equal opportunity rights for everyone, total equality and fairness. Total equality and fairness. Think they down with DEI? Dyess said, "My wife and I had nothing to do with slavery, but we recognize the wrongness of it." Now, I won't say you had nothing to do with slavery if you own Nottoway Plantation. I mean, a lot of us could say we had nothing to do with slavery, but some of us, by virtue of the choices we have made, cannot. You would be the second group, Mr. Dyess. We are trying to make this a better place. We don't have any interest in left-wing radical stuff. We need to move forward on a positive note here, and we're not going to dwell on past racial injustice. Left-wing radical stuff, you say? Guess we have our answer. Definitely not down with DEI. No, definitely not. That would be left-wing radical stuff. So when he made that whole comment about we believe in equal opportunity rights for everyone, total equality and fairness, I think he said that because he's a lawyer and she's a judge. And I think that's what needed to be said professionally. But on a personal level, I want to make sure y'all know we ain't down with that left-wing radical stuff. We ain't dwelling on no slavery. As a matter of fact, we own a plantation.
Would a Jewish person ever get married at Auschwitz? Would any of the concentration camps in Poland or Germany be the site of a tourist destination? Then why do Americans glamorize and hold such a special place in their hearts for plantations?
My opinion, they did not set fire to this place. No. This is the owner right here, Dan Dyess. He's a local attorney down there in Natchitoches, Louisiana. This is my area. We used to go where I live down about an hour outside of the city, down to Natchitoches to the lights. You can go up and people hung out in the whole 9 yards, but the history is racist. Everything about this place screams racism.
Yeah, all the way down to we not dwelling on past racial injustice. Now, I'm glad to be able to put a photo, be able to put an image to all of the words. I very much appreciate that. I didn't know that there was accusations that they had done it. I only seen that levied at all of the people with the fans in the front yard. I hadn't seen that. I think by virtue of where they have articulated they stand when it comes to radical left-wing stuff, they would be off the hook for doing anything. And like I would send that statement and be like, do you think I would burn a plantation? You know. But this guy, he looked familiar.
Some of y'all say, Darian, this is a historical landmark. Fuck this historical landmark. Burn, baby, burn. That's where it's located. God bless you, ancestors. God knows I wish we could have been there to put some on the grill when this bitch burnt to the ground. Here's to many more burning up. Fire.
I thought I knew him. Yeah. He could sing.
Dan pretty much said he invested everything he had into this, and now it's a total loss. Now, yes, he may have insurance, but y'all got to remember, insurance, sometimes insurance companies don't want to pay you now. You know, he probably tried to rebuild, but not the way he had it. I'd also like to add that this is the mayor of Natchitoches, Louisiana, and he already has faced straight up in his face racism. Yes, there was an event of the swearing in of State Senator Cleo Fields. I met Mr. Fields a couple of times. And Mr. Fields, they had a swearing in ceremony for him. The mayor was there. President of Northwestern State University, Genovese or whatever. He pretty much got up to speak, addressed the black man who's the mayor of Natchitoches. You know, where he basically told the black man he had some nerve sitting his ass on the front row when there's white people president. That's Natchitoches for you now. So this fat bastard is right in line with everybody else.
First of all, touche on fat bastard. I hadn't heard that since Mike Myers retired. But now that statement makes a whole lot of sense. Now I get it. And also, now all the tears from the people in the initial news footage, also, I can process in a different context as well.
Now, fat ass Dan did say that he is not racist. Him and his wife had nothing to do with slavery. And, you know, they're not in a left-wing radical anything. And but they also don't want to dwell in the past. Fat bastard is racist, yes. Now look at his ass. He got to wait on the insurance company to see if they're going to approve him for insurance payment. Whatever he tries to do won't work. This place will never have as much visitors as it used to be because now the world is looking at it. Speaking of this racist ass building, these are just some of the rooms that they had there rather. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, ancestors, named after the oppressor's sons. So Mr. Dan can go fuck himself with that shit. Room after room. On top of that, fat ass Dan and his wife planted 11 trees in honor of the slave owners' family members. Yeah. Celebrations out the ass. Let's not even get on the cottages, is what they call them. They want to go back to slavery so bad, but they know their ass ain't gonna make it outside. Don't flag me, TikTok. Don't flag me. Don't talk about some fucking cottages. Ass fat, burly, wide, sitting on his stomach, clogged artery ass mother. Great work, ancestors. Great work.
He slow cooked that one. Yeah, he's you can tell he got more mad as a video. Nicely done, Darian. Nicely done. Now, what I can say is not everybody who may have been allowed in proper Dan Dyess society was down with the rebuild.
So, can we talk about how crazy it is that people are genuinely looking forward to the rebuilding of Nottoway Plantation? It irks my nerves because it's 2025. If you cannot stop glorifying a pretty house that horrible, rancid shit happened in and not even mention what happened, that's not okay. It's okay to admire how beautiful something is, but whenever you don't acknowledge what happened, you're erasing the pain. Thousands and thousands of enslaved Black people have worked on plantations, were beaten, killed, and you're sitting up there getting married. If you cannot appreciate something pretty but acknowledge that something bad happened there. Thousands of enslaved Black people were tortured and brutally murdered and killed and forced to do awful things, while you're upset that you won't get to go play tennis. You're upset you won't get to go get married and take pictures where people were killed and brutally murdered. Why the fuck would you want to taint your marriage like that? It's not okay. And white people, you just need to do better, especially in the South.
And here it is. Tim Scott told me racism was over. He said the reinvention of the Southern heart, and yet here we are. And look at Tim. That is rough. Now, I will say there's been a number of people that weighed in on this particular issue, but some professors raised some interesting points when it came to preserving history.
Archaeodeathlings, the academic and professional responses to the Nottoway Plantation fire that I've seen have been often feckless, if not deeply irresponsible. Archaeology Professor Howard Williams here, and I'm not referring to the broader public reaction, which is both understandable and in many cases fully justifiable and seen as deserved that the building has gone up in flames.
I was gonna say, bro, hey, you clean that up. Cause like you don't want to go into no juke joint like that with that energy. It drag you out of there. I said juke joint. Yeah, they opened up a juke joint in the back. Yeah.
And seen as deserved that the building has gone up in flames, given not only the antebellum history of enslavement, the people that worked the land, whose bodies lie unmarked nearby, and who crafted this structure, an edifice to inequality and racial violence in short order for its Confederate owners, but also the deep legacy of this structure through the post-Civil War period and emancipation, as people remain poor and tied to the land and tied to this structure and its landscape. And when add insult to injury, this being turned into a resort where people can go on breaks, enjoy fine food, and get anodyne tours that misrepresent the history, and even get married here. This shows the deep racial divides in American culture between those who see this as shock and sadness and a tragedy that a historic building should end its life in such a dramatic way, regardless of how this fire transpired and what will happen next, and those that see this as not only a historical wrong being righted, a just desserts, but also an opportunity for a spiritual cleansing of the landscape, a purification and a spiritual release for the souls of those who may be perceived as trapped or connected to this cursed property. The insult to injuries of this being seen as a celebratory resort, therefore being countered by the fiery conflagration, which somehow restores an injustice and hopes for a better future. Now, in terms of the academic response, however, people are rightly saying this is just one of many buildings. It may have been the biggest surviving plantation in the South, but there are many other examples. The building is less important than the injustices that it's been perpetuating. And of course, people may have been making money out of the economy of this site as a private residence, if historically protected, but people are seeing this as blood money. It's tainted, telling a misplaced history. And I concede all those points, but we've also got to remember that this was crafted by those enslaved people, and without any other traces on that landscape of their life preserved, this was a monument to their labour and their suffering that is no more. And therefore, it's a deeply ambivalent structure that shouldn't be celebrated through its destruction when we have lost those key traces of the lives that could be told. And while the existing plantation owners may not have told that story, while it was there, it still retained the potential of that telling for future generations, and that's been lost. And therefore this fire does contribute, whether we like it or not, to the erasure of that deep and troubling past.
Now, I thought that he actually raised some very fascinating points, because I'm here on this platform railing against the erasure of the blood, sweat, and tears and lives and innocence of our ancestors on a regular basis. And while the history of this particular plantation was whitewashed, I just outlined the outrageous stories that were being told by the tour guides there and why they had people standing haggard outside, completely misrepresenting the true history of the plantation. That aside, it also stands to represent what we know it to be and to represent, and to be a monument and a place where we can launch into those stories. Like the literal building is there, which represents such a huge aspect of American shame. However, the question that is being presented to Black folks in their reaction to this is, would you rather be antagonized by them misrepresenting the history and intentionally trying to omit aspects of our history, or have the representations of said history completely removed? And I think just the acknowledgement of how much easier it will be moving forward to completely erase our collective history by these things not being present is legitimate. However, the fact that they are going to try and rebuild it pretty much indicates to me exactly what their plans and motivations were moving forward, and exactly how much energy they were going to give to telling that true story. What did he say? We're not going to dwell on racial injustice from the plantation. Yeah. Nah, I'm good. I think I'm good. Tell the professor we good. Yeah, we square. And as far as y'all are concerned, hey, Louisiana, y'all got bigger things to worry about. Hey, I'm finished. I'm finished recording. Y'all turn the music back on. Nah, that's my partner. Oh, we up next? All right, bet. Hey, I would like to cordially invite you to my premiere. Did you know I premiere all of my videos? I have them every day, and I'm in the chat going back and forth with you guys live. So be on the lookout for notifications. And every day when we're in the premiere, I hear the same thing. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't get the notifications, which is something that I'm looking into, by the way.
What are you prepared to do about it? Don't let no one come into your house. Take your meal. Do what you need to do today.
Another way that you can help ensure you get those notifications is to subscribe to the channel. And also that helps amplify and boost our signal to make sure everybody is getting the message on all the good stuff that we got going on. Message. And of course, if you're interested in early access to the videos, the deep archive, the backstage, the extras, there is a link to membership in the description box to all of the videos. And if you like me, cheap is life. I remember my parents used to buy me shoes that were 3 sizes too big so I could grow into them. Well, the discount for the first month of the Patreon is running out, so make sure you take advantage of that at patreon.com/ReeseWaters. And all of you existing members, there's a code for you guys to try it for free for the first couple of months on me. Now, I want you to take a listen to something.
Turn me up a little bit, or just a little bit more. I got a message that I want to send across the world. Listen, baby.
Now that was sent in to us by Thomas Young, or as his friends call him, Preach.
Yeah, Ricky Fontaine. Pretty Ricky, what they call him.
For use on my Way of Waters channel. Well, I'm looking for the exact same thing on this channel. So if you are a musician or you know one and you got a cut of music that you wouldn't mind going hand in hand with some really good jokes and social justice commentary, go ahead and send it my way at admin@reesewaters.com. And now end, as I always do, with eternal gratitude for helping us get to this point.